with our third function that we've got here, you'll notice that we have an amplitude change, we've got a period change, we've got a horizontal phase shift, and now we have a vertical translation as well. Okay, so this really comprises probably the most complicated kind of graph that we need to draw. Okay, and it's going to incorporate being able to solve equations so that we get our x-intercepts and doing all of the things that we've already been doing. So let's break it down and start with the things that we normally would and write down what our amplitude is, which is 2, period, which is 2 pi over n, and our n value is 3, so that's 2 pi over 3. Okay, this function, I haven't got it written here, but it's being graphed over the domain from negative pi over 3 to pi over 3. So we've got our amplitude, we've got our period. We can see that it's going to be translated to the left pi on 3 units and translated down 1 unit. So that's important in terms, certainly this is important in terms of working out what our maximum and minimum values are. Okay, so because we're going from negative pi on 3 to pi on 3, we're going to draw our line a bit differently, and because it's translated down 1 unit, I'll put my x-axis up a little higher. Okay, so we're going up, it's going to reach a maximum here at 1 now. Okay, we normally go, it's going to go from, normally would be from 2 to negative 2, but because we're translated down 1 unit, the maximum value will be 1. And the minimum value will now be at negative 3. And we're going from negative pi on 3 to pi on 3. So let's get our positions here. All right, now let's work out whereabouts our values, our intercepts will be. Okay, so our x-intercepts, letting y equal 0. So that means we have 2 cos 3x plus pi over 3 minus 1 equals 0. Now solving this equation, remember we want to get our cos, our sort of our trig function part here on its own, which means we need to bring our negative 1 over here and this 2. So rearranging, we have cos 3 times x plus pi on 3 equals 1, because it's going to be positive 1 and then divided by 2, 1/2. So then solving for that, remember we need to work out a couple of things. First of all, where are our solutions going to be? This is positive 1/2, so our solutions for cos will be in the first and fourth quadrants. Our basic angle, where is cos equal to 1/2? If you refer to your exact values table, that will be pi on 3. Okay, and which means that we've got our solutions here at pi on 3 and 2 pi minus pi on 3. All right, so, and because we're actually going in the negative direction as well, we're going to have solutions here in the negative direction, so that's negative pi on 3. And this would be negative 2 pi plus pi on 3. All right, so 3 times x plus pi on 3 is going to be equal to negative pi on 3 here, and then at positive pi on 3. What are we missing? Okay, now in terms of solving here to find our x-intercepts, notice we've got 3 times here. Our n value is 3, so that means effectively what we need to do in terms of solving for our x-intercepts is to multiply our endpoints for our domain by 3. So that actually will be negative pi to pi. Just only for working out our x-intercepts. We're still graphing from negative pi on 3 to pi on 3, but in terms of determining our x-intercepts, we need to alter this, okay, so that we know how many times we're going. So we're going from negative pi through to positive pi, which actually is not going to change anything. It's still just once around the inner circle. So we've got 2 answers here, this one and this one here. All right, so then we now need to solve for x. So x plus pi on 3 dividing by 3, so that's negative pi on 9 and positive pi on 9, and then subtracting pi on 3. So x will equal negative pi over 9 minus pi over 3 and positive pi over 9 minus pi over 3. Okay, so if we were to solve this here, pi on 3, that's the same as 3 pi over 9, so negative pi over 9 minus 3 pi over 9, that will be negative 4 pi over 9, and pi over 9 minus 3 pi over 9 is going to be negative 2 pi over 9. However, we'll notice that negative 4 pi over 9 is actually outside the domain. So what we've got here is just an x-intercept here somewhere, okay, negative 2 pi and 9, but what about over here? So I reckon what we're going to do, because this has gone out of the domain that we're wanting to sketch, this here will be, what we need to do is we need to include this one in our solution. Okay, so just going to do that in a different color, which means that we need to include 2 pi, 2 pi minus pi over 3, which would be 5 pi over 3. Okay, and 5 pi over 3 would be the same as so what we need to do is go 5 pi over 3 and then dividing by 3, so that becomes 5 pi over 9, and then that's 5 pi over 9 minus pi over 3, and so that's going to be 5 pi over 9 minus 3 pi over 9, which is 2 pi over 9, and that makes sense. Okay, so these here are the 2 x-intercepts that we want, which is in this domain for which we're sketching. Okay, so that's 3. So we're going to have here 2, 1, 1, 2. So this here will be our negative 2 pi over 9, and this will be 2 pi over 9. Okay, so that's where our x-intercepts will be, here and here. Okay, so we know this is in thirds, right? 1 pi over 9, 2 pi over 9, 3 pi over 9. Okay, All right, so it really helps if you know how to work with fractions when you're doing your graphing of trig functions. All right, so what we've got is our x-intercepts. We know we're sketching from here to here. What's going to be our value when x is equal to negative pi over 3? Well, if x is negative pi over 3, then we've got negative pi over 3 plus pi over 3, which is 0. 3 zeros is 0, so cos of 0 we know is 1. So that's 2 minus 1 is going to be 1. So we've got that's going to be a maximum value here. At negative pi over 3, it's going to have a maximum value of 1. How about I write that down just to confirm that, right? So we've got if x equals negative pi over 3, then y equals 2 cos 3 negative pi over 3 plus pi over 3 minus 1. That's 2 cos this becomes 0. So 3 times 0 is this. 2 cos of 0 minus 1. Cos of 0 is 1. So that's 2 times 1. So that's 2 minus 1, which is 1. Okay, so that's our point here, negative pi over 3, 1. And we know it goes through a period of 2 pi over 3. So that's 1 pi over 3. So 1 pi over 3 to here, and 2 pi over 3. So it's going through one complete cycle over from here through to here. So it's going to be a maximum value there as well, which means that starting here, finishing here, it's going to be a minimum halfway, which is at 0. So it's going to be a minimum value there. So then we can sketch in. Okay, I'm sure you'll be able to do a better job than I am. Okay, make sure, as I said before, do your sketching in pencil. Okay, so we've got our endpoints, negative pi over 3, 1, and pi over 3, 1. We've got our minimum value here at 0, negative 3, and our intercepts here at negative 2 pi over 9 and positive 2 pi over 9.